Hi, welcome to this presentation of the Ohm Studio. This video will give you an outline of the way the Ohm Studio works so that you can understand the basic principles and start making music. Launch the Ohm Studio application. Enter your account information and join the network. First of all, there are mainly two things to distinguish within the application that we categorize as environments: the dashboard and the project. Let's begin with the dashboard. This is what you first see after successfully connecting to the server. On the left, you've got the chat room to establish contact with people from all over the world. On the right, you've got the list of the projects you created or joined and that are hosted in the cloud. These projects are either private or public and have one or more members who are either owners or just members. For now, let's create a new project. By the way, what's a project in Ohm Studio? Unlike other DAWs, it's not just a file on your hard drive in that the assets are stored in the Ohm server in the cloud. Yet, they are also present locally as disk cache in the same time, in such a way that performance is not impacted. Now, let's jump to the project environment. You can see it is divided into two main parts. The sequencing panel on the upper half, which is the place where you will create and edit tracks and patterns, and the gear panel underneath for managing racks and plugins. In addition, you also have the inspector, the same chat room as seen earlier in the dashboard environment, and the transport bar. Before going any further, let's see what a project is made of. At the ground level, there are racks. Roughly speaking, a rack is the equivalent of a channel strip if it can help you understand better, and it contains one or more plugins. A plugin generates or processes sound. It can be an audio track, an instrument, or an effect plugin. The Ohm Studio comes with a couple of built-in instrument and effect plugins. It also accepts VST plugins. A plugin itself can host one or many tracks. A track is used to control a plugin and arrange elements of a project called patterns throughout the horizontal axis that represents time. Finally, patterns are either audio or MIDI. A pattern contains an audio sample if it's an audio pattern, MIDI notes, or automations otherwise. The gear panel is the place where you create racks and plugins. To create a new rack, select a plugin in the plugin list and drag it into the gear panel. You can scroll up and down through the list or use the search bar to filter plugins. On the top, you'll see the list of built-in plugins that every Ohm Studio user has. There are two ways of displaying the gear panel: the mixer view, which is the mode you're seeing right now, and the modular view, which we'll come back to later. Horizontally, racks are displayed in the following order: ordinary racks on the left, aux racks, also known as returns, in the middle, the master rack at the far right. Vertically, we have the name of the rack at the very bottom. In ascending order are volume, panning, the one or many outputs the rack has, and then the list of sends. Finally, we have the name of all the plugins you insert, the first one on top representing the beginning of the chain. Let's insert an effect plugin for the sake of demonstration. The modular view gives a different representation of racks and plugins. This is the same setting as in the mixer, but you can freely move the racks through space like this. As in the mixer view, you can still insert plugins via drag and drop, but you can also do more advanced routing between racks. On the one hand, we are connecting a synth bass to the rack containing a compressor plugin, which will itself be routed into a rack with an EQ plugin. On the other, we are connecting our drum kicks output into the compressor's sidechain input and the EQ at the same time. Finally, we are removing all the remaining output to master racks. We've just created a standard sidechain compression scheme. The sequencing panel works just like in any DAW. X-axis represents time, while Y-axis makes simultaneous use of several tracks possible. Tracks are stacked one over the other. Each one has a track header visible on the left. One or many of them can be found under the same plugin header. When you select a plugin header, you can see the corresponding plugin selected in the gear panel, be it in the mixer view or in the modular view. Note that selecting a track and pressing backspace will only remove the track, not the plugin. Likewise, one or many plugins inserted in the same rack are visually part of a common rack header in the sequencing panel. Again, see the correspondence between both panels. As said earlier, the timeline displays the way events are sequenced from the beginning to the end of a track. This yellow vertical bar is the playhead. You can move it by clicking on its head while holding it and dragging it left or rightwards. To make it start and pause alternatively, you can click on the play button in the transport bar and the square button just on the right, but it's definitely easier to use the space button repeatedly on your keyboard. If you move your mouse over the loop region, you see the arrow switch to the pencil so that you draw a line that corresponds to the loop you want to create. Now it's activated and it will make the playhead play from head to tail until you hit stop.
Home Studio. Together sounds better. Home Studio. Together
to activate and deactivate the loop, you can click on it manually, but shortkey L will help you save time. While the loop is on, pressing Enter or Return on your keyboard, which comes back to clicking on Stop in the transport bar, will make you switch position from beginning of the loop to beginning of the track. The sequence is the place where you arrange and edit patterns, which are elements of a project like audio files, MIDI notes, or automation parameters. There are basically two modes in the sequence: arrange and edit. Arrange is the default mode where you create, resize, split, copy, loop patterns to build a song. Now, hold Command on Mac or Control on Windows and move the mouse wheel upwards to zoom in where your mouse cursor is and eventually switch to edit mode. You can achieve the same result by double-clicking in the sequence. In edit mode, you can edit and fine-tune the pattern's content in great detail. You can draw notes with the pencil tool, copy them, and move them inside the pattern. It's also possible to draw automations. Finally, the sequence overview helps you quickly determine where in the sequence you currently are, or quickly jump to another part of the sequence. Click on the icon on the top right or use the shortkey I to access the inspector. It displays information about the selected element and allows you to make changes on it. Elements you select appear in yellow, while those selected by other members appear in orange. When no element is selected, the inspector displays things like shortcuts to software preferences, project page on the web, or your personal Home Studio account. This is it. We hope that this video helped you get a better idea about the Home Studio. Thank you for watching and have a good time making music with the Home Studio, alone or together with other people. Bye.